This entitled customer thinks he should be able to get a burger from a fast food restaurant even when the building is on fire. He doesn't care how many people's lives he puts at risk. He's determined to get his Happy Meal. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. My husband works for a pretty prestigious university as the director of student life. He oversees a decent-sized staff, and their work encompasses all manners of student activities, groups, Greek life, etc. A little background before I get to the incident. A few months ago, we were expecting our baby. Most people on campus knew this, and knew that my husband, let's call him Joe, would be taking paternity leave. When the big day came, I called him and told him it's go time. Meet me at the hospital. And he dropped everything and ran out the door. As you do. In the delivery room, we had plenty of downtime, so from time to time he checked his work email while I rest. He looks through it and goes, "What the?" A professor wrote the most caustic, unhinged rant saying, basically, "I came into your office to see you about a matter concerning my students, and you weren't there, despite the department hours clearly stating 8 to 5. This is unacceptable and unprofessional. Contact me immediately," etc. He lolled and said, won't she feel silly when she gets his out-of-office reply? But no, 10 minutes later she's harassing him again. Finally, he sent her a very terse reply, and it seemed that was the end of that. But not for long. Every day for the next week, this professor came into the office, demanding to know if Joe was there. More than one tear was shed by the staff during this time. I don't know exactly what she was saying, or why no one else could do what she needed. The staff was kind enough not to burden Joe with this while he was on paternity leave. But reports are it was like having an angry dementor come through. On the first day Joe returned to work, he got to meet this professor face to face. He was in his office, on FaceTime with me actually, when yelling erupts from down the hall. "Uh-oh," he says to me. "Bet that's her." We hang up, and what conversation happened in that office can only be imagined. Or maybe he told me, I forgot. Hashtag newborn life. But by all accounts she was cantankerous, irate, and incorrect in what she was trying to do, and could not be told otherwise. As he is in charge of the department, but not of her, he could only put his foot down on the request, but not the behavior. Finally she left, and the whole situation was done and dusted, finished and forgotten. But again, not for long. Fast forward to yesterday. I decided to pop in with the baby to surprise him, and hopefully we could go to lunch. Also show off the baby, of course. When we arrived, it was squeals all around the office staff, and one of the ladies took the baby for a tour around the building. I've been holding that kid for 3 months straight, so I was happy to let her. Joe's admin assistant told me he was in a meeting for another 10 or so minutes, and then she went off on the baby world tour. I decided to sit in his office and enjoy merciful silence. But, and you guessed it, not for long. Enter the professor from hell. I knew it was her before she said one word. She looked like an ivory tower Karen, with an "I want to talk to your dean" hairdo. "Does nobody do work around here? This is outrageous. Where's the admin assistant? Why is Joe even on the payroll if he is never here? Go find him." What? Oh my goodness. Are you too effing hungover to accept simple direction? What is wrong with you? I'd kick your butt out of class looking like that. I don't care where he is, go and get Joe. "Oh, you think I'm a student?" she replies mockingly. "Oh, I'm gonna pretend I'm not a student now, sitting in the office with a university sweatshirt and a book bag. What group are you in? Because Joe will be very interested to hear how inept you are." I'm like, book bag? Oh yeah, diaper bag, okay. At this point, I decide to ride this out and hope he comes back and sees it in progress. Okay, let's say I'm a student. Why do you think I work here? That was exactly the wrong, or right, depending on your point of view, thing to say. This lady came undone in a torrent of maniacal hissing and shrieking. Her vitriol knew no bounds as she directed it at me, the office staff, my husband, all students except hers, the building itself. I've never seen such a tantrum. Give the baby a few years. As she's having her meltdown, I move out of the chair where I'd been sitting and sidled up to a photo of our wedding that Joe hung up. I leaned against the wall like a laconic cowboy with my foot up, arms folded, smirking. Unsurprisingly, she didn't notice the similarities between the beaming bride and the dumpy, sleep-deprived chick standing before her. But I remained committed to the con. After several moments of non-stop torrent of verbal abuse, Joe's not even fit for community college. How the F did he get a job here? Was the one that made me chortle. She didn't like that much. I hear a flurry of footsteps come flying down the hall. The admin assistant comes sliding through the door, like Kramer, face white as a sheet. I ask her if Joe Jr. is okay. Another coworker had him in another office, because they heard the professor and didn't want his baby self to learn what madness lurks in the world at such a tender age. She has exactly enough time to answer yes, before the professor unleashes the Kraken in her direction, vis-a-vis the ineptitude of moi. Clutch pearls. Wait, what are you talking about? That's Mrs. Me. I'm still posed like the Marlboro Man. Points at my picture. And right on cue, here comes the man of the hour, Joe, complete with Joe Jr. an arm. The coworker holding the baby has called his cell phone and told him what was happening and to get back here as soon as possible. Joe was livid, but the eerie, scary sort. That is a schadenfreude lover's delight when directed at the deserving recipient. He handed me and the baby and asked if I was alright, then turned to the professor. Get out, do not come back until I've spoken to your department chair. I'm going to lunch. Boy, do I have a story to tell you. And out the door we swept, off to lunch, where we got pizza and migraines from laughing so hard. It feels like people who have jobs where they have a little bit of authority, or sometimes where they have a lot of authority, become very self-important. They don't value others with having any importance whatsoever, even their own peers. And so to them, the tasks they have to do are the only thing they care about. Even if a coworker is, I don't know, having a baby. You know, most normal people would be embarrassed, awkward, if they confused a student with a non-student, or somebody who worked there or not. But somebody like the professor in this story is just so stubborn, they really don't care. Yesterday, I was studying at home. At midday, I saw a car pull up in front of my neighbor's house. A couple exited and immediately went up to the front door to knock. As time passed and no one answered, they started exploring the property, presumably searching for someone. Unfortunately for them, no one was home. This is where things started to get interesting. The man, growing increasingly agitated, decided the sensible thing to do in the situation was to climb over a fence into my neighbor's backyard. As I watched him, perplexed by his decision-making, I saw him wandering around, knocking on, and then trying to forcibly open the back door. It was a rather amusing sight. That is, until he gave up and decided the next thing he'd do is climb the fence from my neighbor's backyard into mine. Oh no. At the moment, our landlord is building an extension to the house, and immediately I'm worried that this man might accidentally injure himself on the construction site. I rush out to speak to him. What I'm met with is an out-of-breath, red-faced man and a woman rapidly descending down my driveway towards me. Knowing a little about my neighbor's arrangement, I initially tried to help. Hi, are you guests at neighbor's Airbnb? Check-in isn't until 3 p.m. I don't think you'll find anyone there at the moment. The lady, now upon me, was unhappy after hearing this. You need to let us into the house. I'm taken aback. I'm sorry, I'm not your Airbnb host. I just live next door. You should be able to get in touch with neighbor, as they'll be able to help. Ignoring the perfectly rational advice I'd given them, the lady starts turning a deep shade of red. Her partner silently glaring at me, his face beginning to contort with anger. They told us we could check in at 10 a.m. You should really contact your host. As I've said, I'm just the neighbor. This only seemed to anger the couple more, and the lady immediately started shouting at me. You need to let us in or I am calling the police. Wow. At this point I'm pretty annoyed. I tried to explain the situation to her again, but only got so far as, I can't let you in, before she cut me off. Let us in or give us your money back. Now, in her increasing anger, coherent sentences started to break down, which in hindsight was pretty funny to watch. It became a series of, you told us 10 a.m, give me back my money, and more threats to call the police, who would apparently get them a refund. I've never seen someone get so belligerently mad in such a short amount of time. At this stage, I'm done with being polite. Lady, I am not your Airbnb host. You, gesturing to the man, climbed over the fence into my backyard, which is why I'm out here speaking to you. You both need to leave and contact your host. I know that their check-in isn't until 3 p.m. Being forceful at least interrupted her tirade, but she was still mad. As I watched her, I could see her slowly starting to process the situation. Despite this, she wouldn't apologize or admit she was wrong. Instead, what she blurted out next was, "Can we at least store our luggage with you then?" What? She repeats herself, this time much louder. Apparently still under the delusion that yelling is the way to get what she wants. Nope, you're not leaving anything with me. After a further brief exchange, they left, and I immediately let my neighbors know what happened. Now here's the justice to the story. My neighbors were annoyed. Really annoyed. They tried to contact their guests, but they wouldn't answer their phone. Eventually, they let Airbnb know what happened. Airbnb tried to reach out to them too. Again, the guests were uncontactable. During our exchange, the man let me know his name. Let's call him Bob. As it turns out, the booking was made under a completely different name. Both my neighbors and the Airbnb tried to verify who was staying, but Bob wasn't responding to their calls or messages. Eventually, Airbnb decided to cancel Bob's booking. I wrote a note letting Bob know he needed to check his Airbnb messages and that his booking had been cancelled due to the situation this morning. At 3 p.m, the car returned, this time filled with 4 more people. Apparently Bob was trying to sneak in a few extra unpaid guests. I watched the quiet resignation on their faces as they read the note. It felt good. As an aside, my neighbor managed to rebook the dates with a lovely Chilean couple, and Airbnb honored the payout for the insane couple's cancelled booking. My neighbors insisted on giving me a portion of the payout for my trouble, but honestly, knowing that these horrible people were inconvenienced was enough. I am a fire investigator for insurance companies. A few days ago, I was at a fire at a super common fast food restaurant, helping another investigator process the scene and dig. All the fun parts of my job, without any of the responsibility or report writing. It was so cold. I was in black overalls and my black Carhartt with a baseball bat and a regular N95 mask. Because fires in fast food restaurants are gross, you know? I looked in no way like a restaurant employee. Even with the black clothes, you could tell I was covered in soot and debris. And what restaurant employee wears an N95 that's been stained black? I was standing outside in the parking lot with another investigator that was there, and we were chatting, taking a break from being in the grossness from inside. The parking lot had been filled with debris. On one end of the parking lot, there was a 9-foot tall pile of random burning stuff. On the other end of the parking lot, in front of the drive-thru, are all of the roof ventilation systems that are half burnt and melted in a big pile, along with a whole assortment of burnt stuff. There's caution tape everywhere. There is fire debris haphazardly strewn throughout the area. There's a very visible hole burnt in the top of this building. There's a darn fire engine parked at one entrance of the parking lot, with their lights on, blocking the entrance. There was no way to misunderstand what had happened at this building. A man in an old van drives by with his window down, slowly staring at us. He has this inquisitive look on his face. He drives past the first entrance, then attempts to turn into the entrance blocked by the fire engine. He backs out, turns around, then turns back into the other entrance, headed right for us. I say us. The other investigator wisely caught on what was about to happen and whispered, "Good luck," and hauled back inside, leaving me alone with the van guy. Anyway, van guy drives around the big pile of ash and stops in front of me. He says, "Hey, what happened here?" I replied for what feels like a millionth time in my career, "There was a fire." He says, "Oh, what started it?" And for the millionth time, I replied, "That's what I'm here to find out." He says, "Oh, okay. Well, can I have a cheeseburger and a medium fry?" Trying very hard to not say what I truly wanted to say, I told him that no, there was a fire, you can't have a cheeseburger. He then proceeded to ask, "Well, can I have a large Coke then?" Again, no, there was a fire, you can't have a frickin' Coke. You know how you can see when someone has a moment, where they have a moment and it all finally clicks? This guy had that. He looks at me and asks very intently if I work there. I say no. I'm here investigating the fire. He then asks, and I'll never forget it. So they're closed, but why? Feeling like I've met the universe's densest star, I replied because there was a fire. He finally just says, "Okay, well, bye," and drives away and out of my life. I'm still not sure he truly understood why he couldn't have his food. I walk back inside, and the jerk who had left me there to deal with Clouseau himself is standing there and just asks how it went, because I work with jerks. Yeah, the guy who went up there was pretty stupid, but at least he wasn't super annoying. Like, he didn't start demanding free food or, "Well, next time I come back I better get a cheeseburger." Then again, if he did do that, you could probably say, "Sure sir, what's your name?" Pretend to jot it down, and then he'd be happy and leave, and then you'd never see him again. This happened a few months ago, but the problem has been going on for years. Every other month, I would get a text from someone asking for a doctor or to make an appointment. I started off immediately informing them they've got the wrong number. Hey, it happens. When it started happening more frequently, I dealt with the minor annoyance by trying to have some fun. "Is Dr. Lee available?" "No, there's no Dr. Lee here. Only Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong number." It was funny until the volume of messages started increasing, and I got annoyed. A quick Google search led me to the clinic's page. Their number was indeed easily mistakable for mine. Their number ends with 013 and mine with 073, and the font used certainly made it worse. I called the clinic to inform them of this problem, and they needed to do something about it. Change the font, spell the numbers out, or even change their number. I just wanted the messages to stop. The lady just brushed me off and said there was nothing she could do. I asked to speak to someone in charge, but was denied. She told me to change my number or just deal with it. So here comes the part where I dealt with it. After an odd month of peace, I received several messages over a week asking to make an appointment. "Hi, I would like to make an appointment, please." "Sure, the next available slot is next Friday at 10. Would that work for you?" I made very sure never to claim that I represented the clinic. If anyone asked for a specific doctor, I would say there is no such person here. And if they did ask for the clinic, I'd inform them they got the wrong number. Basically, I had myself covered and tried to have everyone's appointment at the same time. When Friday came around, I received several angry replies from those people and a call from the clinic. Messages went generally like this: "You're a terrible person. Why would you do this to waste my time? Why did you pretend to be the clinic?" "I'm sorry man, but I run a PC repair service, except I don't take appointments via SMS, nor is my personal number listed. I was expecting you at 10 but you didn't show. If you looked at your message, you never asked if I was the clinic and I never claimed to be." And the call went like this: "Hi, who is this? Why did you pretend to be us and arrange for all these appointments? I called you months ago letting you know about this, but you told me to deal with it, so I set appointments up for them to see me. It's not my fault they showed up at your door. Maybe you should change your phone number." And I hang up. Sure, I felt a little bad I made those people travel to the clinic, but since I've stopped receiving messages from random people, and after checking on the clinic's site, they now have an online appointment making system. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.